our Tremolo series.
In this series, we're going to share with you tremolo pedals by some of our favorite manufacturers.
Thanks for joining us. Today we're looking at the Cusack Music Tap-A-Whirl. It's a very robust pedal that the beard is going to attempt to break down.
Right. Kind of like Jon Cusack is the mad scientist of waveforms or something like that. If you're not familiar with Jon Cusack, we did interview him on our 19 Conversations series. I highly recommend, put a card up for you, going out and checking that out, because a guy that has his hands in the pedal world in a really, really, really big way, and a lot of people don't realize it.
Right.
And he does amazing things. Like, he's just an amazing guy, like, all around. It's not just the pedals and everything else he gets his hands to. So we were really excited to be able to bring his pedal on the show and get to meet him and talk to him. And we're going to jump into it, quite literally maybe, and try and explain what he has going on here. So, we talk features, and it's almost like, where do you start? Got an in and an out. The out is a stereo out, so there's a jumper inside that you can go and change just to be a stereo pedal, and then you would use like an AB, like a splitter to come out. You'll also notice, and you probably can't see it on the camera too well, you might not be able to see it on the camera at all, actually, because of the way we crop them. There's an RCA jack on the back, which allows you to send tap tempo or receive tap tempo. And Jon explains why that's an RCA on the interview we did with him.
And I don't think the rest of the world followed him, but it made sense as to why he did it.
Right. I mean, they should have followed.
Right.
So, come over here to the front. We have a bypass. We have a tap speed. We have a mode switch. Does that say mode at the top?
You're asking me.
I can't remember. Option switch. Option switch, a level switch, a rate switch, a depth switch, and a waveform switch. Then we have two little toggles, a live / preset, and then the banks. And so it's like, boy, that pedal looks complicated. And then you start playing with it, you go, okay, it's not complicated. But it is kind of at first. Like, if you never look at the owner's manual, you're never going to use the pedal, like, to its fullest capability kind of thing.
Right.
Or if you never watch this video, instead. All right. Or, yeah.
Maybe be worse when you're done. I don't know.
It might be worse off. The option switch is interesting in that it controls several different functions, depending on whether the pedal's on or off or whatever's going on. We'll get to that. We'll come back to that. Levels, just sound, rate, you understand, depth, you understand. And then waveform is an 8 toggle, like 8 clicks, and then it has 3 banks, bank A, B, and C.
24.
So if you do the math, there are 24 waveforms in here. And bank A and B are kind of more maybe more traditional ones with some
twists.
But this is where you'd find like your sine wave, triangle waves, your ramp waves, some square wave stuff, and then some twists. And then bank C becomes very kind of rhythmic.
Right.
Okay. So right now it's set up, I think, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, to something that I might just kind of out of the box use, like typical.
So what I thought we would do, we'll let you do the reference tone in a second, and then we will have you play that. This is kind of what I would use, and after you play through that a couple times, I'm going to take the depth and move the depth all the way down, then take the depth and move it all the way up. One thing to realize about the depth knob.
Yeah.
When you get around 12 o'clock and push past that, whatever waveform you have selected, you're going to start to do some like asymmetrical clipping of that waveform. So not only does it get more deep, but it's probably going to get more...
pronounced, maybe?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, reference tone.
Well, first of all, the Revolta Mandata 8 this lovely lady's making her debut on the show. At some point we'll review this guitar. We're still like, how do you review a guitar?
Depending on when this video comes out, if it's been there or not. But this is the first time we're recording with it.
Yep.
Depending on when it comes out, it might not be the first time you've seen it.
Right. True story. So that going into the Tyler PT22. I have it in the middle. It sounds like this.
So actually, he's using all 3 mini buckers right now.
That's what I'm doing. That's what he tells me. This switch confuses me.
So let you start playing. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, we'll just turn it on.
All right.
And then go from there. I started laughing there because I knew it was getting harder to play too.
Yeah, I always kind of like push pull until I try to get it. Just from playing a non-tap tempo tremolo prior to starting this show. Where's the pedal going to take me?
I thought this was interesting, and I don't know that people will be able to see it on the camera, but it's blinking really hard right now. Mm-hmm. When I rolled that all the way down to off, it's solid. So that blue light tells you your tap, but it also tells you the intensity of your tap, like how, because when you start to bring it up, even just a little bit, and I don't know if people will be able to distinguish that on the camera, but it's like a real light flicker until you get up pretty high, and then it starts to flicker a little bit more. All right.
I think that was Bank 1, Wave 1.
I think that was just your typical sine wave.
Yeah.
So Jon Cusack gave us 24 waveforms to pick from, and Pat picked the sine wave.
Basic. Kindergartner. Self-proclaimed kindergartner in every episode.
So we could talk rate really quick. I could roll rate all the way off, and you could give them, just so we can show you the extreme of rate. We'll do that fast.
The giant hummingbird always shows up when you push it to the right.
So that gets us, like, if you think standard tremolo pedals, that gets us through there, right? We have our depth, we have our speed. There is a level knob on here. You can notice it's about, 10 o'clock, and that we found that to be about unity for the pedals. So obviously, turn the depth all the way down. You could use that as a little bit of a clean boost too, if you wanted to. Let's get into some of the interesting stuff. So there's 3. Oh gosh, I hope I remember this. Might be pulling my phone out.
I was gonna say, why have to get your phone out?
I keep wanting to say mode, but it's not mode.
Options.
The option knob lets us control 3 options. It lets us control the tap to subdivisions of the tap. It lets us control how fast the tremolo comes in when you engage it. And it lets us control how fast the ramp speed is. Because if you hold the tap preset button down, it will ramp down to nothing. And then if you hold it down again, it will ramp up the top speed. So it's one of those that does like the every other one. One press slows down, one press speeds up. And then we can control how fast that happens with that option up. So how does that one knob control those 3 things? And I think what we do is we start with the pedal off. If you take the option knob all the way to the left, the first position, you will have a tremolo that starts right away. So if I go all the way to the left here, and pad hits a chord, when I press the button, you should hear the tremolo kind of right away. Rougher game a little bit.
Yeah.
With the pedal off, if I change the option knob all the way to the right, it's going to take a long time for that tremolo to kick in. So what I'm going to do is actually turn the depth up just a little bit, maybe the speed up a little bit. So when he hits the chord and when I hit it on, you can hear just how long it takes for that to come in. Not sure we're quite at unity. I felt like there was a little bit of a bump.
Perceive almost.
Yeah. Either a bump or a low, I can't remember. So that's kind of a neat feature. I don't know that we've seen that feature on any other tremolo we've done.
Right.
So if you wanted to be able to sneak in, like if you want to be playing and want that effect to just kind of swell up underneath of you and not be like, oh, boom, he just turned on a tremolo pedal, that's really cool. I mean, I think... especially if you're doing like some kind of ambient texture kind of stuff or something and you wanted to add that and have it just kind of come in underneath, that would be a really neat feature. Now what? If we have the pedal on and we change the option knob, we're changing tap tempo. And now this is crazy. You would think it would start at quarter notes. It doesn't. Somewhere about the middle is quarter notes. And it will go 4 beats per measure or per count. Or, that's not right. I was a drummer in a former life.
But your biology, not a math teacher.
So think quarters, eighth, triplets, 16th notes. We called them sixes in drumline. If you go the other way, so it starts with 1 beat, like a whole note. I'm not sure what it does, and then half notes, and then it's interesting. So we can show that. How do we show that? So let's start it. Let's not start it there. Let's start it like...
Playing this pedal is
here.
one thing. Explaining it is quite another.
Right. We're going to start here. I don't know if that's quarters, eighths. We'll figure it out. I'm going to tap it in. We'll tap it in at like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do you just want to rake? Single?
And I think you only need 2 taps, but you can do more to average it out. But yeah, give a nice big rake.
I'll give him the mighty G chord.
And then I'll turn it and we'll see if
Okay.
it...
See what we'll figure it out as we go.
That last one was the whole note thing.
I strummed it at the wrong time and we just heard the acoustic strum. Whoops.
Right, because if you're not...
Right.
It would be interesting to try and play. I actually thought maybe we ought to get a metronome. Set the quarter notes with a metronome and then strum it on the metronome just to hear subdivisions. because like when it gets up in the triplets and stuff. But anyway, you get the idea. So you can start like whole notes, half notes, all the way, eighth notes, 16th notes, triplets, whatever. You can kind of go through the whole thing with your subdivisions, which is really cool. I don't think that, when we say we've had a bunch of tremolos, again, I think the first tremolo that gives you subdivisions below quarter notes. I think every other one has started on quarter note subdivisions and gone up. And then I guess you could argue, well, if you want them whole notes, you would just tap them in as whole notes. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Ramp speed. So if we have the pedal on, which we do, we hold the tap speed and we move this all the way to the right, you're going to have a very quick ramp speed. So, yeah, go ahead and play a big chord and then we'll...
With the volume on? Maybe.
So that ramps up pretty quick. If we hold that button down again, and I'm not going all the way to the left because when I tested it out all the way to the left, it like never sped up because it was so slow. You get the idea.
It takes a while, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and anywhere in between. Actually, you can go a little more extreme than that, and then anywhere in between that, too. So, we did the ramp speed, we did the subdivisions, we did the
other ramp. Both.
ramp speed, subdivision. Well, I just totally, just left the room. It was like, hi. Recording
on today's episode. I have to give him these cues. On today's episode.
Got to the third one, couldn't remember it, and took a trip. Ramp speed we did, subdivisions we did, and I can't, the other one is just, how fast it comes in. How fast it starts once you engage the pedal.
That's what I meant by the other ramp when I said other ramp, if you rewind.
Yes.
I didn't know what to call it other than the other ramp.
So, minus the 24 different waveforms that we have to do.
Right.
Let's look at the live versus the preset thing. And this is really interesting. I'll see if I can explain this because it took me a little bit. You can set up a preset for each one of the waveforms. And in that preset, you can save whether it ramps, whether it engages quickly or slowly, the ramp speed for that we just showed you, subdivisions, and I think speed. Your depth and your level are going to kind of be...
They're not going to automatically adjust.
Yeah, they're going to run through whatever you have. You can do that. So basically, by doing that, when you go to preset mode, if you have saved them, when you switch to from this waveform to this waveform, all your presets will be there already. And you can do that for all 24 waveforms. When you're in live mode, whatever you have it set up for is what it will be when you switch the waveforms.
Right.
So if I have it set up to start real soft and work its way in with a quick ramp and 16th note subdivisions, and I flip the toggle switch, that's what's going to be on the next one when I'm in live mode. Mm-hmm. So if we say, well, okay, I want to have the 32nd note, the sixes, whatever you want to call it. I want to have that. So I'm going to move that here. So now we have that as our subdivision. I want it to take a really long time. So I'm going to turn the pedal off and make sure I move that. Take a really long time to come in. We'll just go with that. And now I need to save that to my preset. I'm going to flip it over to preset. It blinked, right?
Yeah.
All right, just making sure. So now that should be saved as a preset. And let's turn it off. You go ahead, hit a chord, we'll turn it on, we'll see if it takes a while to come in. And we're going to tap in 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I now go to bank B or go to a different waveform and I start messing with stuff, I was turning stuff wherever, whatever. When we go back to bank A, it should still do that. Cross my cross your fingers. Back to bank A. Go ahead.
Yep.
Volume.
Took the volume completely out of the guitar.
Yeah. So that worked. All right. So that's really, really, really interesting. Because, you've seen a lot of, especially nowadays, we see a lot of pedals that you can save presets, you can save banks, toggle between presets or whatever. But I thought it was kind of like real forward thinking to go, okay, I'm going to give you 24 different, because, like you need 24 different wave.
Right.
I'm sorry, John.
But if you find your favorite thing about that wave, you can save it.
Right. So if you find a couple that you really like, you can save how you want those to work. And then when you turn the toggle to that. So in a gig, it's not unheard of that you would reach down and go, I'm going to switch to toggle B and move it to number 3.
And if you get lucky and like things that the rate and the depth are pretty similar, you only have to hit the switch. You don't have to readjust.
Well, your depth and your volume. And I would think your level would be.
Right.
So, it would be a quick way to do that without trying to go through and, I got to tap here and turn this off, turn that.
Right.
You can just set it up and leave it so, once you get it there. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so those, we've talked about the options, we've talked about speed, depth, things that it can do, and it can do a lot of really cool stuff. And one thing that we didn't mention that I really think we probably should have right up in the front, this was the world's first tap tempo tremolo. So Jon Cusack had the first tap tempo tremolo out there, and it is an all analog tremolo pedal with some digital control. And because of that digital control, he's able to do a lot of really cool stuff. And so we get to the final thing, which is the waveform.
24. Buckle up.
Yeah. That's all we're going to say. 24 different waveforms. If you go to, and I'll put a link in the description to this on the web, but maybe I'll even put a link to the manual, because at the bottom of the manual it shows the different waveforms. I might be able to cut that page out and put it in the video, but I'm not going to promise anything at this point. So let's just do it. Let's do all 24 waveforms right now. Here we go. Number 1.
Bank A number 1, right? Here we go.
Let's say doing that one again because that one's the random one. The last one is random. It just so it's kind of interesting to hear where it, which is. I was watching somebody else talk about this pedal, and it was a keyboard player actually uses that random one at the end in like big pads,
Right.
because it puts this movement behind this big pad that's kind of unpredictable and stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool. If you are in the last one thing that we did notice that I think is worth maybe picking out and talking about. I'm going to turn on an overdrive pedal. It's a Barber Electronics direct drive. And I'm going to kind of run the depth again.
Yeah.
Because if you have the depth lower... So this is a rhythmic one, and if you listen to the rhythmic ones, there's peaks and valleys in there. There's accents, right? So there's accents that are louder than other accents. And I don't know if I'm going to explain this right, but it seems to us when you pull the depth down, you kind of maybe minimize how much difference there's between those accents, and then also how much of the guitar you're letting come through. And hold. So if we have it to the left, have like a low depth, you're going to hear more guitar bleeding through, and you're going to hear the accents, but maybe not as drastic. We get up around noon, we're losing some of the guitar bleeding through, you're hearing that more in the accents. And then it's like even as we get higher, they spread even farther apart. So like the loud accents are there, but some of the smaller accents are going away. If that makes sense, think about it as we do it.
It gets into kind of like a rave party afternoon.
So we'll start... You know, with some depth, but not a lot. And drive.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah.
It gets crazy. It's really cool. I mean, you could do some...
Right, because it's not just it gets deeper. Or you know what I mean? Like it actually, because of the way it clips things off and stuff, and that's in the rhythmic. So if you were following along and looking at the waveforms, there's more standard waveforms in A and B, maybe more rhythmic waveforms in C. Jon Cusack. And everybody over at Cusack, because it's not just them, and it's not just John, but he has good people working over there for him. So thanks to Jon Cusack and everybody there that helped us make this possible. We really appreciate it. mad scientist stuff. We love it. It's great. I think that might be it.
I hope.
Well, I mean, we can take the back off, play with the stereo jumper, make it stereo. There's an internal trim pot that you can do something with volume A, because once your stereo, you have to...
We took a deep dive, but we didn't touch the bottom.
Right. We were almost there.
We were there. I'm like, I'm running out of air. We got to go back
If
up.
it was a 12-foot pool instead of a 13, we would have made it.
Right.
Or, yeah.
Whatever he said.
13 instead of 12. Thanks, everybody that's been watching. We appreciate everybody that's subscribing, following us on Instagram, Facebook, leaving comments, and all that stuff. Every time you interact with the show, really helps us out. And we like to take a moment to tell you how much we appreciate that every time we do this. And I think with that...
I'm PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you, no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear. I don't know. We've gotten to the chopper many times. It's the first time it actually took off.
That's the best sound. With that rate down, with the depth all the way up, and then you hit it. Oh my gosh.
It's like a chopper, but maybe it's this kind of chopper. That would be Brody approved. It's
my gosh.
It's like a hog pulling away.
That's crazy.
Phew. Encyclopedia Britannica.